Imagine a massive social media platform, X, flipping a switch deep inside its own code. And their goal is, well, pretty simple network cleanup. They just want to get rid of some bots.
Right.
But what that one single technical tweak actually did was expose this sprawling, state-sponsored cyber network that had been running for almost a decade inside Iran.
It's just a spectacular case of unintended consequences. And today we're deep diving into the source materials that document this exact platform change and, well, the seismic geopolitical fallout it caused for the Iranian regime's online operations.
Okay, let's unpack this. The most important piece of context, I think, right at the top is the motivation here. Was this move by X's leadership deliberately aimed at exposing Tehran's operatives?
And our sources confirm the answer is a definitive no. This was about digital hygiene. It was not about regime change.
Platform health.
Precisely. But the collateral damage was the exposure of this massive coordinated effort to manipulate global online narratives. In this deep dive, you need to understand three core things. First, the exact technical reason for X's new location feature. Second, the secret tool Iran used, these white SIM cards. And third, the very real structural damage this exposure did to the regime's propaganda war.
So let's start with that technical trigger. It's surprisingly simple. The real reason X introduced this change was, as you said, internal network health.
Yeah. The system was being actively degraded. I mean, you had these highly active robots, bots, just skewing conversations, making the whole platform feel less credible.
Their operational mission was simple then, bot elimination.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating is how they did it. It wasn't some complex AI detector. They just decided to force transparency. The engineers revealed a previously inaccessible or hidden fourth option in every single user's account profile.
A fourth option? What do you mean hidden? What did it actually do?
Well, it provided an objective fixed marker, the country where the account was initially opened or registered. And that is crucial. Before this, you could just use a VPN, log in from anywhere, lie in your bio, say, I'm in New York or London or wherever.
Okay.
But this fourth option revealed the non-negotiable origin point of the account.
So wait, how does the platform know that for sure? I mean, even if I'm using a VPN right now to mask my IP address, how do they know where I started? What's the technical marker?
Right. Good question. The documents indicate they were leveraging the metadata that gets embedded in the account's original creation packet.
The moment it's born, basically.
The moment it's born. It includes things like the unique server ID from registration, which is tethered to a geographical region, or, and this is the critical part, the initial connection data that ties the account to a specific mobile carrier or SIM registration.
So that's a permanent digital fingerprint.
It's an objective digital fingerprint that the platform holds onto forever, no matter where you log in from later.
And that's the key contradiction that just blew everything up for them.
Exactly.
Before, the regime's agents could just claim to be anywhere but Iran. This new marker made that claim just undeniably false. It instantly exposed the gap between the account's persona and its actual permanent reality.
It created a fundamental incompatibility between the platform's new transparency and the regime's need for deception. A critical failure for agents who relied completely on that ambiguity.
Okay, let's talk about the sheer scale of this revelation.
Yeah.
Once this feature went live, what did we see?
Well, the exposure confirmed tens of thousands of highly active accounts. And we're not talking about new accounts. Some had years of history.
How many years?
The sources say up to 8 years old. Some of them even had the verified blue check marks.
Wow.
And all of them, all these accounts claiming to be in the US, Canada, Europe, were in fact operating directly and consistently from Tehran.
Not just Tehran, right. The sources get even more specific.
They get much more granular. The geography was pinned down to specific operations within the capital. These weren't just random people scattered across the city.
Yeah.
They were concentrated near specific security centers, primarily centers affiliated with the Revolutionary Guards, the Sepa-i Pastarin.
The key military and intelligence arm of the regime.
That's right. Or other closely related security and intelligence agencies. It shows a massive, centralized, government-funded operation.
Which brings up the next obvious question. The average person in Iran is dealing with a heavily filtered, throttled internet. They have to use these slow, unreliable VPNs. So how could these agents in these concentrated centers possibly maintain the volume needed? Producing 40, 50 posts a day.
And that takes us directly to the regime's special tool, the white internet. or the white SIM card.
Okay, now, to be clear, the card isn't actually white.
No, it's not about the physical color. It's a term that defines a specific, unrestricted form of government-issued internet access.
So a totally unfiltered backdoor to the global web.
That's the perfect way to put it. Think of it like this. The general population in Iran is driving on a bumpy dirt road, lots of security checkpoints, everything is slow, restricted. Some people have called it digital apartheid. Meanwhile, the regime's agents with these white SIM cards, they had their own dedicated, unrestricted 6-lane government superhighway.
They needed it for the volume.
They absolutely needed that open, high-speed access to maintain the kind of high-volume global activity they were tasked with.
And the numbers are just staggering. The documents estimate how many of these were out there.
Approximately 50,000 of these special SIM cards were produced and distributed specifically for these information warfare ops.
50,000. That is a digital army, equipped with the best possible gear.
The scale is the story. This was never a handful of passionate bloggers. This was a factory floor of deception.
Which brings us to their mission. What were these 50,000 agents actually paid to do? And why was hiding their base in Tehran so absolutely critical for them?
The sources detail a very focused, dual-pronged objective. It was all designed to protect the regime politically and attack its most effective opponents.
Okay, what's prong number one?
The first function was the promotion of the Shah's son, Reza Pahlavi.
And this is where the political irony just becomes almost dizzying.
It is the core contradiction of the whole operation. These agents were tasked with creating the illusion of massive, organic, popular support for this one specific alternative figure.
And they had to hide their location.
They had to. As one analyst in the source material put it, no one would believe someone sitting next to the Khatam al-Anbiya headquarters in Tehran, which is a major Revolutionary Guard base, would genuinely support the Shah's son.
Of course not. It was a sophisticated false flag.
Exactly. It was designed to mislead everyone, the international community, and people inside Iran about the true nature of the opposition.
So they were trying to funnel all this genuine popular anger towards a carefully controlled, maybe even state-approved alternative figure who wouldn't fundamentally threaten the core structure of the theocracy.
That's the strategic goal. And then you have the second function, organized attacks and just relentless smear campaigns.
Against who?
Against the genuine, organized opposition forces. So this was hyper-targeted activity against dissidents like the Mujahideen Khalq, the MEK, who advocate for regime change, as well as against other vocal opponents like the Kurds.
So poisoning the digital well.
Completely. The goal was to poison the well against anyone who presented a credible, organized threat.
And the documents show that getting one of these white SIM cards wasn't just a perk. It came with, like, a literal contract.
Yes. Public figures, including certain journalists and commentators, people who sometimes position themselves as reformist or slightly critical, figures like Emma Doldenbaghi or Abbas Abdi, they operated under very strict terms.
And what were those terms?
The conditions were explicit. The regime's digital red lines. Number one, absolutely no activity or criticism against the supreme leader, Khamenei.
Untouchable.
Untouchable. Yeah. 2, mandatory organized activity attacking the Mujahideen. And 3, mandatory participation in specific line activities.
What's a line activity?
That means they were required to push state-dictated nationalist or propaganda narratives whenever they were told to by their intelligence handlers. It ensured that even the seemingly critical voices ultimately served the regime's core security needs.
And you can see the incredible, almost absurd depth of this deception when you look at the specific personas they created. There was one case in particular, the Delbansera persona.
Oh, this one was incredibly effective. This account claimed to be the daughter of a Mujahideen member from inside the opposition's inner circle.
A perfect insider critique.
The perfect, credible voice. This account misled international journalists, commentators for years. It seemed to be providing authentic, damaging information about the opposition from someone who was disillusioned on the inside.
But then X flipped the switch.
And it was revealed to be operating from Tehran. The account then frantically tried to change its claimed location multiple times, to Germany, then back to France, before it was just shut down entirely.
There's a quote in the source material that just perfectly captures it.
It's hilarious and so insightful. It suggests this persona was likely a big mustached pasdar sitting in a mosque.
A hardened military figure hiding behind this manufactured, deeply personal female persona. It's just wild.
And this manufacturing of credibility, it went even further. You mentioned Doldenbaghi. The source confirms that these figures were given white internet access even while they were technically in prison.
Now that seems counterintuitive. Why would you give a supposed critic a platform to talk about sensitive history?
Because it allowed them to build what the sources call a safe margin of critical thinking.
A safe margin?
Yeah. These individuals could criticize the regime on minor, secondary issues, economic policy, some domestic mismanagement. That established their credibility as independent thinkers.
I see.
But then they weaponized that hard-won credibility to promote the state's most vital security lines. Like, for example, denying the 1988 massacre, one of the regime's darkest moments.
So they'd sacrifice a pawn to protect the king. Make small criticisms to gain the ability to deploy high-value propaganda on the big issues.
That's the playbook.
And the digital breadcrumbs these agents left behind, beyond just the registration location, were astounding. The technical red flags were everywhere.
They were. Many of these exposed accounts were created during specific, high-tension political periods. There was a notable surge in 2017, and then another massive deployment during the 2022 uprising.
So they weren't just casual users. They were being activated like a rapid response digital militia whenever there was popular unrest.
Absolutely. And on top of that, many of them made a critical, basic error in their digital hygiene.
What was that?
They installed their social media apps from local Iranian app markets, not from the international Apple or Google stores.
Which means what exactly?
It means their entire digital footprint, all their metadata, their communications, their update history, was fully visible to and controlled by Iranian security services. It just confirmed they weren't independent actors. They were a centralized, monitored, and deployed network.
So after this undeniable platform-verified exposure, what was the fallout? How did the regime and its affiliates try to control the damage?
Well, we saw two distinct, and I'd say failing, deflection strategies.
This is the first one.
The first came from the direct recipients of the cards themselves. Figures associated with those reformist or hardline factions like Baghi. They tried to minimize the whole crisis by just reducing it to a factional dispute.
Like it was just an internal squabble over resources?
Exactly. They claimed the white internet was a promised public service that had been unfairly restricted, and they started using the term digital apartheid to pivot the discussion away from their foreign propaganda operations.
A classic misdirection. They tried to turn a scandal about state deception into a narrative about internet inequality for all Iranians.
That was strategy one. Strategy two was used by media outlets seen as promoting the Shah's son, specifically the London-based Iran International.
And what was their angle?
They completely obscured the core finding, which is that Revolutionary Guards were being paid to promote the Shah's son, by also focusing intensely on that secondary issue of general internet inequality. They tried to create a massive smokescreen to hide the fundamental truth about the pro-Pahlavi network's deep Tehran origins.
But strategically, this was the loss of a critical weapon. Just how significant is the damage to the regime's digital defense mechanism?
Oh, the blow is severe. It's severe because this network provided something that's really irreplaceable.
Because
organized volume and near instantaneous response. This network was used for widespread, organized verbal attacks and hate campaigns against opposition figures, foreign officials, parliamentarians who supported the opposition.
And it was fast.
Within seconds. These attacks would flood a target's replies within seconds of their post, creating this incredibly hostile environment.
And they successfully manufactured this environment of perceived hostility that then other figures could cite as proof that the opposition had no popular support.
Yes. They manufactured false narratives of popular support that figures like the Shah's son then used to bolster their own claims of political legitimacy. That ability to field such a high volume of location spoofing, targeted propaganda, it's just gone.
And it can't be rebuilt easily.
Any replacement system they launch now will immediately face the same transparency feature. The deception is impossible to sustain.
It's a major tactical and strategic defeat. It just erases an 8-year effort to pollute the global digital sphere.
The severity really can't be overstated. They've lost the ability to create synthetic political consensus and intimidate opponents effectively in the digital domain.
So for a final summary, a simple technical cleanup by X, just focused on platform integrity, accidentally becomes this powerful political act. It exposed a deep, centralized campaign of digital poisoning, funded and run by the highest levels of Iran's security organs.
It's a remarkable demonstration of how simple tech can force accountability onto very complex geopolitics.
Looking ahead then, what does this mean?
It creates immediate damage and instability for the regime's digital strategy. I mean, their primary method for manufacturing external support and intimidating genuine opposition is just severely compromised.
So the key takeaway for you, the listener, is what this implies for the future. Specifically, during the next inevitable phase of popular unrest in Iran. The source suggests this removal of what they called vermin and snakes from the digital well will allow for significantly greater transparency.
A far more accurate representation of the strength and the reality of the genuine opposition.
Yeah. The regime's propaganda bubble has been publicly and, most importantly, undeniably popped.
And that raises a really important question for every other major social media platform out there. Given the successful exposure of this massive systematic deception by a single technical fix on X, how long will it take for platforms like Meta or YouTube to implement similar transparency-focused tools that specifically challenge these systematic, state-sponsored influence operations?
The technical capability is clearly there. It's proven.
It's proven. And the global political demand for that kind of integrity is now, I think, undeniable.